For more than a year, Suzanne Jinerson has agonized about the sad boy who lived next door to her on Walters Lake in Clarkston. His name was Ethan Crumbley. He was about 6 when she met him, an aloof boy who rarely left the house or played with the neighborhood kids. She never saw him laugh or smile, except for the one time she snapped a photo of him fishing with her son and another boy. Sometimes he would wander over to her house because his parents had left him home alone, she said, and he was afraid to be by himself. He was never, ever okay, and I honestly believe he could have been. She said of the boy whose fate weighs heavily on her mind and her heart. That boy grew up to be a school shooter. This haunts me big time. I will always wonder, what else could we have done? It's a gut-churning experience more and more Americans live with, as mass shootings seem to happen every day. Nashville on Monday, Memphis on February 19th, less than a week after 3 students were shot and killed at Michigan State University. Relatives, classmates, and co-workers of the shooters face the pain of wondering, what if? And why? Ethan Crumbley's neighbor is a retired officer with the U.S. Air Force and now lives in Texas, but has spent the last 16 months tormented by the story of Ethan Crumbley, who is now 16 and behind bars awaiting sentencing for the mass shooting at Oxford High School. That mass shooting left 4 students dead and 7 others injured. He carried out the 2021 massacre using a gun his parents bought for him as an early Christmas present, a gift that would lead to involuntary manslaughter charges against his parents. Jinerson was working in Dallas when she heard about the tragedy and the identity of the shooter. She said, "I was floored. I cried because I knew. It sounds terrible, and I don't want to say it's not his fault, but it's not his frickin' fault," she said. "I just know with all my heart, he did not have to turn out that way." And that's why she is speaking out now. She said, "I need people to understand that this was a 6-year-old boy at one time. I know he's quote unquote a monster for doing what he did, and I'm not trying to excuse it." After staying quiet for more than a year, she felt compelled to share her memories of the boy that she wished she could have saved. The boy who lived next to her for a year. The boy who came over for barbecues, went fishing with her husband and son, and went skiing with the family. But Ethan was a troubled and lonely boy who needed help. And people need to pay attention to the Ethans of the world, she said. I think all the other kids who are out there, who people aren't paying attention to, I want them to pay attention. Pay attention to what's going on in your neighborhood. Jinerson reached out to the Free Press after the Michigan Court of Appeals last week ordered the Crumbleys to stand trial on involuntary manslaughter charges, concluding the tragedy was, quote, reasonably foreseeable. Jinerson, a military mom who raised 3 sons and describes herself as, quote, very Second Amendment, said she's thrilled that the parents were charged. Her husband added of Ethan,
"He shouldn't have had a gun. Plain and simple."
In this exclusive interview with the Free Press, the Jinerson talked about the year they lived next door to the Crumbleys on Lakeview Boulevard, where they moved in March 2013. The Crumbleys were already there. James Crumbley worked from home in IT, and his wife was studying for her real estate license. Among Jinerson's first memories of the Crumbleys was the dad helping her when she locked herself out of the house. She asked James Crumbley for help, she said, and he used a credit card to open her door and let her in. They seemed nice enough, she said. They invited us over for wine and dinner on the patio. We met Ethan. Ethan was very shy. Jinerson's husband had a few interactions with Ethan, but thought something was off. As soon as I met him, I told my wife, there is something wrong, he recalled. He never looked anyone in the eye. According to the Jinersons, the Crumbleys did not let their son socialize with other children in the neighborhood. Ethan was the youngest of 5 boys on the block, ages 6 to 10. Jinerson said Ethan went outside only if his parents were with him and recalled pleading with Jennifer Crumbley to let her son go fishing with her son and husband and be a kid for a day. 2 months after the Jinersons move in, Ethan went fishing with the new neighbors and another boy. 8 months later, Ethan would go skiing with the Jinersons at Pine Knob and then out to dinner with them some weeks later at Buffalo Wild Wings, though that night ended on a sour note. Jinerson said the Crumbleys got so drunk that they ended the outing early. According to the Jinersons, the Crumbleys often left Ethan home alone at night when they went out socializing and punished him if he wandered over to a neighbor's house while they were away. They would go out and drink and leave him home alone, Suzanne said, echoing allegations from Oakland County prosecutors. He was scared. He would come over to my house and say, I can't be here because I'm going to get in trouble. The Crumbleys' attorneys, who, along with prosecutors, are barred by the court from speaking publicly about the case, have said in filings that prosecutors have unfairly characterized the parents. At the end of the day, Ethan was cared for and loved by his parents, said defense attorneys. They sent him to summer school, summer camps, and took family vacations. They attended parent-teacher conferences and emailed with teachers about their son. Jinerson said she ended up having a falling out with Miss Jennifer Crumbley. Jinerson said she was concerned that Ethan was spending so much time indoors with no friends and that she offered to babysit him for free so he could play with her then 12-year-old son. But Jennifer Crumbley wouldn't hear of it. We got in a huge fight over Ethan's welfare, a seriously bad argument. We never spoke again after that. We all knew Ethan wasn't okay. I never felt more powerless. The Crumbleys moved from the neighborhood in March of 2014. Another 7+ years would pass before the Jinersons heard the name Ethan Crumbley again. When the Oxford school shooting first made the news, Suzanne initially didn't recognize the shooter's face on the TV news. She was too concerned about the loss of life, the traumatized students, and the fact that a tragedy of this magnitude had struck small-town Oxford, a community she enjoyed, having dined there and where she had ridden her motorcycle. Then the phone rang, and that call was from her stepdaughter in Michigan. She said, Suzanne, do you realize who that is? Oh my God, it's Ethan Crumbley. I'll never forget that phone call, she said. All the memories of a young Ethan came flooding back. She said, Ethan didn't have a prayer as a child. As I mentioned earlier, I don't know what we could have done differently. Some of you may think this is a sympathetic plea for Ethan's life since his sentencing is coming up, or you may believe this is really a woman who spent time with him as a little kid and just can't get that image out of her head. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I know we've talked about Ethan and his parents and how we feel about their lack of parenting, but I'm curious what you guys think about the neighbor's account. I'll see you guys very soon, and until then, like, subscribe, and stay safe.